building models and prototypes to represent requirements. All right, let's kick off with why we bother modeling requirements in the first place. Models are like blueprints. They help us communicate clearly, ensure everyone's on the same page, and raise important questions. Think of it like planning a home renovation. Would you ever start without a clear design in mind? Models make sure the requirements are consistent and complete. They define business rules and help keep everyone, from stakeholders to developers, aligned, modeling the business context. Now let's look at a practical example, modeling a vehicle rental process. Imagine you're hiring a car for a road trip across the Lake Districts. The system has to record details like who's renting, the vehicle they're taking, payment, and, of course, returning the vehicle. The model helps us identify what needs the IT system will support and clarify the requirements for everyone involved. Use cases explained. A use case is basically a description of a system's functionality by showing how a user interacts with it. It's like asking, what happens when a customer books a car rental? First, the system records rental details, takes payment, and finally handles the return. Each use case delivers value to the user, like the convenience of paying online. They're named with verb-noun phrases like record rental or take payment. The goal is to clearly show what each part of the system does. Use case diagram levels. Moving on to diagrams, we have a few types: context diagrams, use case diagrams, and use case descriptions. A context diagram, for example, is like looking at the whole system from a distance. What interacts with it? Who are the users? The use case diagram gets a bit more detailed and shows specific functionalities, like a salesperson checking vehicle availability. These diagrams help us understand the system better and make sure nothing important gets missed. Actors and boundaries. Actors are anyone or anything interacting with the system. For example, in our vehicle rental process, the actors could be the customer, the salesperson, and even the system itself. The actors trigger use cases, give input, and receive output. So every time the customer books or returns a vehicle, they're interacting with the system in some way. Relationships between use cases. Sometimes use cases share common tasks. In a vehicle rental system, for instance, taking payment is a common step that's reused throughout. This is where we use an include relationship. On the flip side, extend relationships allow for optional steps like checking the fuel tank when returning a vehicle. These relationships keep our diagrams tidy and our system design efficient. Use case example. Here's an example of a use case for the vehicle rental system. The actors are the sales team and the workshop supervisor. The use cases include recording rental details, searching for vehicles, and recording inspection results. You can imagine the sales team logging new rentals while the workshop supervisor checks the vehicle when it's returned. Simple but effective. Documenting use cases. Documenting a use case involves detailing how the user interacts with the system, any alternate scenarios, and pre or post conditions. For example, the happy path for a rental might involve the customer booking a car, paying, and driving off without any issues. But what if the car isn't available? You've got to capture those scenarios too. Class diagrams. When it comes to modeling data, class diagrams help. For instance, if we're looking at our rental system, we have classes like customer, vehicle, and rental. Think of it like filling out a form with fields like name, address, and vehicle details. These classes help us organize the data we need to collect and process. Prototyping. Prototyping is like giving the stakeholders a sneak peek of the system. Maybe they're not sure what the final product will look like, so you mock up some screens or basic functionality. It's a bit like showing a rough sketch to get feedback before committing to the final design. This helps avoid misunderstandings and ensures everyone's happy with the direction. Verification. Finally, once the requirements are written, we need to verify them. This is like giving the whole project a final proofread before moving forward. Are the requirements clear, and do they meet the SMART criteria? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. This step helps ensure we're on the right track before development begins. Exercise. All right, time for an exercise. Think about a vehicle rental system. Write a simple use case focusing on recording vehicle rental details. Who are the actors? Then draw a basic UML use case diagram. Next, create a class diagram for the system. Think about key classes like customer, vehicle, and rental. Finally, explain how prototyping could help clarify user interface requirements. You can pause the course now to complete this exercise.